And I just don't bother. I don't bother. I mean, I went home last night and I ate ice cream. It was after midnight, so there was my first ice cream of the new millennium and my cigarettes of the new millennium, and I ate my McDonald's of the new millennium today. We're all supposed to believe we can improve ourselves, but I guess I take the lazy way out. And I say, I have no self-control. I have no self-discipline. I like McDonald's. I love ice cream. I like to smoke. I don't drink anymore. I'm pretty much, I'm celibate. So, you know, if you're not going to have sex and you're not going to get drunk, are you going to then turn around and say to yourself, well, you can't eat ice cream, you can't eat McDonald's, you can't, you know, what's left? What's left, you know, while you're waiting to find love again or something? So, you know, if you're going to give it all up and just eat broccoli and drink juice, what is the reason for living? You have to have some sins. You have to have some indulgences. And if you're somebody, you know, I spent a lot of my life just having every indulgence you can think of. So you get rid of some of them. Is it an indulgence, I guess, to sit 10 hours a day in front of a computer? Yes, it probably is that also. So I don't know, are people who have self-discipline better people? Am I going against this book? This Neil Postman book I haven't even read yet. I mean, there is good and bad. There is right and wrong. But is eating a lot of broccoli and cauliflower so good that you really have to do it and deny yourself those quarter pounders with cheese? Isn't there a trade-off somewhere? Well, I'm not in love with anybody, so I'm not sleeping with anybody. And when I drink, I get such a terrible hangover that it's not worth drinking anymore. So can't I be allowed to eat ice cream every night? Make little deals with God there. And it seems that all these mixed messages are turning people off the idea of eating more healthfully anyway. The UPI has this great story. People are just annoyed. You know how one day they're saying coffee is no good for you? Oh, that's another one of my indulgences. Cappuccino. Oh. Although what I really like is the hot milk. I should just drink hot milk. 28% of people felt that eating a low-fat diet takes the pleasure out of eating, and it sure does. 40% of people in this survey said they're tired of hearing about what foods they should eat or not eat, and that all these dietary recommendations should be taken with a grain of salt. But of course, they can't be, because salt is no good for you either. So you can't take them with a grain of salt. But 28% of people just say they're going to eat more fat. Because it's true. I mean, especially because I'm cruising the wires all day. You hear one thing one day, you hear its opposite the next. It's no good to drink, but of course, if you drink a glass or two of wine every day, that's better than if you don't drink or if you drink too much. Coffee is no good for you, but then again, maybe it is. Smoking, of course, which isn't eating, but smoking is terrible, but smoking is good for what disease? Is it Parkinson's disease or something? There's some disease that smoking actually, it's better if you smoke. So it's confusing. So the fact is, a lot of people just give up and eat what they want. How much are we supposed to just give in to these carnal, I mean, really what it's about is are you supposed to give in to carnal desires? Or to believe that you're somehow morally superior if you don't give in to carnal desires? And which ones should you be more concerned with disciplining yourself about? You should have seen what happened here. Richard, we have all this, I don't know what it is. It's something from Radio Disney, these chocolate balls. These hollow chocolate balls. And they were lying around. And I said, wait a minute, I have something better, because I had gone into a store, and of course, after Christmas, all those bags of Hershey Kisses and, Reese's peanut butter cups and everything go to half price. So I bought a couple of bags of those, and I had left them under Rosemary's desk, and she never found them. And you should have seen, everybody was like a child out there, Bruce Anderson, oh, Hershey Kisses. And Richard and me and Andre came out. Jason, you didn't know they were there, but there's candy out there. So are you supposed to say, no, I must deny myself? Is that going to make you a better person? Is it going to make the world a better place for the new millennium? Well, I don't know. I don't even know. I've gone off in about 150 million different directions, haven't I? Detroit officials opened a time capsule. Letters sealed in a copper box 100 years ago. There was the mayor, William C. Mayberry, the mayor in 1900, wrote a letter addressed to the person who was going to be the mayor in the year 2000. 2001, actually. They buried this at City Hall in Detroit shortly after midnight, January 1st, 1901. And the mayor in 1901 says to the mayor who's going to open the box, how much faster are you traveling? How much further have you annihilated time and space? And what agencies are you employing to which we are strangers? The letter spoke of the advances in communications that allowed telephone calls and telegraph messages to reach across the country. It also showed amazement at the great progress made in travel, allowing travelers to reach Chicago by train in less than 8 hours and New York City in less than 20 hours. Finally, the mayor of Detroit, in 1901, William C. Mayberry wrote, may we be permitted to express one supreme hope, that whatever failures the coming century may have in the progress of things material, you may be conscious when the century is over, that as a nation, people, and city, you have grown in righteousness, for it is this that exalts a nation. Not self-righteousness, righteousness, the recognition and practice of good. But of course, what's happened in the last 100 years is we have deconstructionism, a postmodernism that says there's no such thing as good. There's no such thing as bad. It's whatever you decide. It's kind of like the philosophy of, it's like the Fox philosophy. We report, you decide. They are going to... Detroit had only 300,000 residents 100 years ago. The chief industries then were stove making, shipbuilding, and railroad cars. The Ford Motor Company wouldn't be founded for a couple of years. So these people, they never knew of Diana Ross and the Supremes. They never heard Motown. I wonder if people in 1900 would have thought of Motown. Stereo, quadraphonic, hi-fi. Mayberry had invited about 60 distinguished Detroiters. I should have looked this up in the Detroit paper. Maybe they had more of this. He had invited about 60 distinguished Detroiters to contribute summaries on good paper of the city's cultural and economic accomplishments. He also asked for a prophecy or two about the brave new world 100 years hence. The letter and the box will ultimately be displayed at the Detroit Historical Museum. So that was a cool story. And actually, I bet there were people just being born then. More people live to be 100 years old now. There may be somebody who was just a little baby then who's still living in Detroit who's 100 years old today. Who knows? All right, before I go on for 100 years, why didn't I look this up? Why didn't this strike me until now? You see, your mind starts going, let me tell you. Because I was focusing on, I have to get to Virgin. I have to get to Barnes & Noble. All right, we are going to listen to some words from our sponsors. I will be back. The number is 1-800-848-WABC. All the lines that have decided to function today are full. But if you listen and I take a call and somebody hangs up, you may be able to get through. I'm Lynn Samuels, here till 10 o'clock on News Talk Radio 77 WABC. And if you need anything else to prove that there is hope in this new millennium, in the year 2000, the list of the concerts that made the most money, Tina Turner is #1 and made more money than NSYNC. Now that's enough to give us old broads hope. Here's this 60-year-old who brought in concert touring $80.2 million, and all those young boys in sync only brought in $76.4 million. Then the Dave Matthews Band, Kiss, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, the Dixie Chicks, Bruce Springsteen, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Oh. Metallica. Britney Spears is only number 10. Ricky Martin's number 11. The Red Hot Chili Peppers are 12. Sting, 13. Streisand is only 14th. Creed. Santana, that's too bad. He was only 16th. Backstreet Boys, Jimmy Buffett. The Up in Smoke Tour. I don't even remember who that was. And Fish, with a PH, who were the new Grateful Dead. But #1, that old broad, Tina Turner. I don't know, maybe part of that is you're supposed to learn how to jump around in high heels. Maybe that's the point. Now, the contrast on this screen is there a way to adjust it so I could actually, maybe if I get it. The thing is, I can't see anybody's name. No, it isn't the contrast. It was the way the screen was tilting. Now I can see this absolutely perfectly. Hey, Jeff, you're on WABC with Lynn.
Yeah, hi. After listening to you, all I can say is, and don't take this personally, is 66666. And
I won't take that personally.
Okay. All right. I mean, who cares what a Detroit mayor predicted 100 years ago? Who cares whether Tina Turner was the hottest?
Well, what would you think would be a more interesting topic for the first day of a new millennium? What would you like to talk about?
Well,
if this were your show, wait a minute, okay? This is your show, okay? WABC, your monologue.
All right,
go.
My monologue is this. What I called about was when you were saying, about eating ice cream and smoking and this and that. The bottom line is, it's somewhere along the line, everybody has to be. Nobody knows you better than you. Nobody knows me better than me. you have to, you have to basically be your own doctor. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't go to a doctor, but you have to decide for yourself what's best for you, okay? Now, what was interesting, everybody, I think what's happening is there are so many people. The more people there are, the less people know each other. Does that make sense to you? In other words, you can see a place like China or Japan, and you see millions of people walking this way and that way, and I believe because so many are walking this way and that way that nobody knows each other.
Well, you believe that, but do you know that? Have you been there? Do you know about
I've been in New York. I've been in areas where, where you're in a small place and you see people often enough, you get to know each other. But when you're just passing people by haphazardly, the relationships are not strong. They're very.
But everybody has, even when you're walking around New York. All right, I come in here and there's the Dunkin' Donuts downstairs. That it's always jammed full of people going to the garden, coming out of the guy there knows me, so you're making some conclusion based on no evidence whatsoever.
All right, this is what I'm going to say. Okay.
I'm afraid my boss is listening. You're so much better than I am. You're so much more scintillating. He'll be firing me and hiring you.
Well, the thing is, I'm only good for like a minute or so.
Yeah, well, you've been on for 7 minutes already. Thank you. See, I knew that's what the problem was. He was only good for a minute. I'm sure all his girlfriends tell him that, too. See, don't ever give me an out. Don't ever give me an out like that, pal. To say a quick goodbye. Ronnie, Annie, whatever.
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
I like your take on the millennium. I listened to you the other day, and you were talking about, how small we are in the universe. But I wanted to talk about Neil Postman.
Yes.
I've been reading him for a long time because I was working with children in the junior high schools, and I found that a lot of the things he was saying really work. He wrote a book called Teaching as a Subversive Activity.
I know that. I've heard of it. That one I've never read.
Got to read that one, because in that one he takes on the effects of television viewing. I used to put that in my reports to the teachers about, trying to teach the children what effects the television has on them. That's important.
And
so that they learn how to deal with it in this day.
That actually is caught on. That's it. In fact, I didn't print it out. Well, there's a story on the wire now about how if they start teaching little girls that they are being brainwashed by this vision of, the very thin models. If you teach them when they're young enough that they're being brainwashed, you can stop them from having this bad body image and being so obsessed with being thin.
I wanted to have Neil Postman come on the air. I mean, he definitely needs to speak out because, we don't hear his voice. It's a very important voice. And I think that if you could have him on as a guest, it would be really healthy. The other thing is you got to read his other book about amusing ourselves to death.
Oh, that's his best book. That would be the one I would suggest everybody read first.
Yeah.
And then have you read The Disappearance of Childhood?
No, I haven't read that one.
Oh, that
and
is...
I'm going to get the new one because I think he's a wonderful mind that we're not using. And, we got to hear this because it's so important that we understand the effects of the new technology. This is the problem. If we can understand that and realize what it does to us physically, mentally, and psychologically, we can overcome this and we can deal with it. But if we don't know those things, we go into this new millennium unarmed.
You're right.
We can't be unarmed. Hello?
The Disappearance of Childhood,
yes,
which you will love, is about the concept of how the media reveals all the secrets that used to be kept from children. Children didn't used to know about sex.
They don't need to know that.
And these secrets that adults used to keep until people were old enough are now revealed by the media to, 5-year-old kids, can come across the Playboy channel.
Well, what is the purpose for that? Think about what is the purpose. It's so that they can market these things to the children. And the children's toys are really, really, they're terrible. The other thing I wanted to...
Are you still a teacher?
I'm retired, but I'm doing volunteer work with children.
You're wonderful. You
we're
just
building
sound
a
wonderful.
puppet theater.
Oh, really?
We're going to do stories, and the families can come if they want to do Hamlet or Langston Hughes. They can get in the little theater and do it. I'm just so excited.
Where is this?
This is in Brooklyn.
Oh, wow. Let me know. Will you send something up to ABC and let me know?
Listen, can I tell you one more thing?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you some books you have to read. You got to get into Louis Thomas. He was a microbiologist.
Oh, yes, I know his books.
Well, you got to talk about him.
Lynn?
Whoever this is.
Lynn?
Yes.
It's me. It's Tom from the Bronx.
Oh, hi.
I'd like to say this. I'd seen the motion picture there, The Castaway.
Yes.
I thought it was great.
Yes, it's a really interesting movie.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Jason, could you tell me why they seem none of them to be able to hear me?
Len? Len?
Okay, that's your problem. Okay, Tom, go ahead.
The Castaway was a little bit. Are you familiar with the book Kon-Tiki?
No, I never read Kon-Tiki.
No, well, Kon-Tiki was the people that lived in South America, and they went across the ocean to the Polynesian
Well,
islands.
there's the Swiss Family Robinson and Robinson Crusoe,
Right,
and
it's a little bit like that. It's a modern day version of that. But the craft he builds to get off the island, these.
that was the Kon-Tiki, was the raft, right?
Right, it was a raft, but the logs are put together, and it's very seaworthy, that kind of craft. I know that because I read the book, and I'd seen. On TV, they had years ago on TV, the Travelogue. They had guys that actually did that. They built a craft like that, and they went across the ocean.
Oh, well, people do all kinds of things. Thanks, Tom. People do all kinds of things. There's a big race going on now with sailboats going around the world. It's kind of an extreme sailboat race that's going on. I wish I had paid more attention to that story. Actually, I didn't think it was going to come up, as a matter of fact. Hi, Paul. You're on WABC with Lynn.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Okay, what's up?
I wonder if the folks in Detroit really could have foreseen that we moved from, the real, valid, progressive movement, which Teddy Roosevelt's era started off, to that of the socialists. And
How did we move to a socialist movement? Where did that happen?
Oh, in the last 100 years.
Where, in this country?
Oh, of course, sure.
Oh, really? I hadn't noticed.
Oh, well, we definitely have. And whereas there was a legitimate reason for organized labor, we also went from that to an apparatchik organized crime environment. Oh, and in Detroit, let's not forget Hell Night. Are you familiar with Hell Night?
I'm just waiting. I mean, you've gone from, your bizarre right-wing outlook against unions to your racist attack. How much further would you like to go under the guise of trying to sound intelligent?
Well, I say Hell Night, you say racist. How'd you get that?
Because I followed the trajectory of where you started and where you're going, pal.
I'm looking at the past 100 years of history, Lynn.
Yeah, well, slow down. Okay. Hi, Ronnie.
Oh, hello, Lynn. How are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution to stay away from sweets and chocolate is very hard, but I've managed it so far. But you empowered me to get Tina on tape and put her in my ears when I'm at the help, because they have this awful rock music. So I'm going to put good stuff that I like in my ears. Tina is wonderful.
Well, there are people who would say she was awful rock music, too,
Yeah, well, they don't have to listen to her. She'll be in my ears. They can listen to the other stuff.
Okay, what do they play? Do you know what it is?
Well, I don't want to say the other station, KTU. They're real heavy, young people. The handicapped people at the end, so I guess I can just hang out with them and help them in the wheelchairs. If I can't do anything better, I'll start off race walking, and if I don't do that great, I'll just help the people in the wheelchairs at the end.
Well, I admire you, because I just, like to plan my life around sitting down as much as humanly possible. Thank you, dear. All right. The one thing you do need to tell them, Andre, is it's so much nicer when they turn those radios off. Hi, Lynn.
Lynn, you made my day. I'm getting into my jammies, and I turn on the radio, and here you are. I am so glad to hear you. It's been a red-letter day in my life.
Well, thank you. The beginning of a new millennium, and you get me. What more could you ask for?
Well, I want to tell you, the thing I love about you the most is you're smart. You really are a good critical thinker, and that's a subject I excel in, believe me. And I sometimes...
Well, I'm very good at criticizing everybody.
But the point is that you get the people who pass off opinion as fact. And I noticed that, I don't know whether it's a lack in the school thing or whatever, but I want to tell you that I'm going to email this to you. No, I'm going to put it in an envelope and mail it. It's too long to bother emailing. Monday, January 2001 from the Record, which is the record of paper of record in North Jersey here.
The Bergen Record.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not called that anymore, by the way.
Oh, well, I know it is the Bergen Record.
You know.
Okay.
And probably even Hudson. But I want to tell you that the best thing I have read, and I just had a published essay, which I'm also going to send to you. This is by Betsy Hart, a frequent commentator on CNN and the Fox News Channel.
Yeah.
And it gives her, it is an essay that's better than mine, and that's damn good. We've got to admit it, life's getting better, and she reviews a book by the economist Stephen Moore and the late Dr. Julian Simon, and everything that moron said about 100 years ago in Detroit, let me tell you about 100 years ago, because she quotes. I mean, it's absolutely staggering. We made progress in the last 100 years of the past millennium than we did in the last 1,000. So I hope he's listening, jerk.
All right. I'm trying. You know, we can start. I promise I will begin Saturday night again. You know,
begin what?
Talking about politics and insulting everybody. But, the first day of a new millennium, I'm trying to stay on a higher level.
I want people to understand how sensationally good everything is. Because...
Well, it's good and it's bad. We have all this freaky science. The thing up on Drudge, he still has the story of how they're creating sperm in the laboratory.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of freaky, and they're going to be implanting pig hearts in humans.
Thank God.
No.
If you go to Mars, there are no dentists there, Lynn. If you don't take that pig heart with you, what are you going to do when you need help? I mean, don't you understand that it's a new world, it's a new millennium? Things are different. This is called progress.
Yeah, but progress can be a trap, because that kind of progress where you're mixing species, where you're creating people, where the idea of progress is that we're taking over as the creator from God, and trying to supersede God.
Well, see, there's where we part ways. You may be a libertarian, but I'm a humanist, so what can I tell you?
No, I don't have a label. I'm not anything. I don't know what I am.
You're a libertarian. I really thought that.
No, a libertarian is just, what a libertarian is? It's a Republican who likes to smoke dope.
Very good, I gotta admit. But I want to tell you that 100 years ago, things were pretty bad in this country, really bad. I mean, compared to
Well, but now that we're total socialists, that they've been known solely to that man that called up, now that we live in this communist country here.
I quote from the book, it was an era of tuberculosis, typhoid, sanitariums, child labor, child's death, horses, horse manures, candles, 12-hour workdays, Jim Crow laws, tenements, slaughterhouses, and outhouses. It was an age of lynching, and not just blacks, of horribly polluted and garbage-strewn cities, and utterly primitive medical care. Most work was low-paying, dangerous, and exhausting.
Well, we have come
only 100 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what the problem is to me is that science. We got to a point where everything was good. Where we have better public hygiene and we can cure diseases and socially we're better. But then you go to the freak stage of science, the pig hearts in humans and creating sperm.
Lynn, I have a background in science. I know from whence I speak, from the laboratories. Everything was once freaky. Did you really believe that Pasteur was the only person on the face of the earth who knew that there were little critters that you couldn't see who turned your wine into vinegar?
Not every idea of progress, not every moment of progress is a good thing. There has to be some morality connected to it. I'm sorry, the hour is up. Okay, you people hang on. At 1-800-848-WABC, some of these lines are down on the subways all over the place. And they stick a baby in it, and then they use it as a weapon, an offensive weapon. But there's an element of ethics to all of these things. Is it ethical to put a pig's heart in a human being? Is it ethical that these scientists in Japan, if you look at the Drudge Report, can create sperm? And they'll be able to, turn sperm into eggs or something so that that men, gay men, I guess, will be able to be mother and father and have children. Or is it just, this wonderful, unquestioned progress?
You had a full hysterectomy, and I'm telling, no, I did not. So, you got to have something removed. I would paint a big sign, this side of my body. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know those stories. What was it, only a year ago that there was that story? I forget where it happened. It was in this country, wasn't it, where the guy was supposed to have his left leg amputated, and they amputated his other leg.
Which is fine, because at least it's not killing. I think there was also an incident
in England, yes, where somebody ended up dying because they took something
They took a kidney. They took the good kidney and left the bad one.
Yeah, and then the guy obviously died.
It's scary because, and then you don't know who's a nurse anymore. So you can't...
Yeah, the people you think are nurses are probably most often not nurses.
I worked in a hospital for almost 10 years. Okay, now, I was already in a hospital. I probably started to see decay sooner. It was a county hospital. So what hit the private hospitals now was already there, the attitude. I mean, they wouldn't come into my room for nothing, which was fine. I wanted to be left alone. But it's like you can't get them to get off their behinds, to get a painkiller. Finally, I asked for one. An hour and a half later, they bebop in. They take the temperature at 3 in the morning. They don't let you sleep.
It's because they have too many patients to take care of, because they're not nurses. So what are they... Some of these people are making, $8 or $9 an hour.
Yeah, and then it's like, I'm worried about the cleanliness. I'm seeing her empty urine from one patient. She's going in the bathroom.
They don't wash their hands.
I made sure I heard the water going.
Well, yeah, but you can't see them wash it. In fact, they claim there are these studies also that they don't wash their hands in hospitals. Doctors, nurses' aides, whatever they are.
And that's the biggest reason for getting those staph infections in the hospital. And you get an infection in the hospital, nothing's killing it. Because they're such powerful bacteria that can grow in that environment that they don't have antibiotics that'll kill them.
And I don't know what the answer... if people who hold other people's lives in their hands have no sense of responsibility, what do you do? What do you do about that? They can kill people by being lazy and careless. If I have an engineer that's not paying attention, and they screw up as a record or a phone call, nobody dies. But that same attitude goes on in hospitals. It goes on, with the guys doing maintenance on airplanes.
Yeah, that scares me even more than a hospital. For some reason, I don't know, maybe because I worked in a hospital and, for some reason, I'm not as petrified when I'm flying and I'm hearing there's a delay because of equipment. I said, oh, God.
Are they going to... Look, I was on a flight that we started down the runway and then we stopped and, pulled off. And I was fortunate enough to be in first class on this flight, so I overheard the pilot. And what had happened is the plane behind my plane... The pilot on the plane behind us radioed my pilot and said, I think you have a flat tire.
Oh, cool.
And we did. But nobody... why didn't he know? Doesn't somebody look at the tires on a plane before it starts zooming down a runway?
And they do. And you know what they say to each other? Not my job.
Well, whatever it is, I don't know. Can you take off with a flat tire? But then we would have had to have landed.
Well, I was going to say, you probably could take off, but I would say the landing would be a little difficult.
And I've gotten, since I fly now, I really have no fear. It's strange after all those years when I wouldn't fly, because I'm so filled with anxiety. I think I'm going to get run over by a car every time I walk out on the street. So flying has just become like another thing to me.
Although the skies are becoming as crowded as the streets.
Yeah, but if you think you're going to die every time you leave your house, you just take the flying as another thing where, well, I'm going to walk out of the house and get on a plane and I could end up dead. I've just absorbed it into the rest of my anxiety. Oh. So I'm glad you're all right.
Yeah, I live to die another day.
Okay, and a happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Okay, bye. Okay, that's Deanna. She's what Neil Rogers down in Miami would call a chronic. We call them regulars. He calls them chronics. Hi, Alice.
Oh, hi, Lynn. It's lovely to speak to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I read in the Times, I think last year, that they're genetically engineering pigs with human genes so they won't be so fatty. In other words, they're inserting human genes.
Yeah, well, they're not using my genes.
But then if you eat a piece of pig like that, isn't that sort of cannibalism?
Well, that's what I mean. We are walking into this really bizarre, uncharted territory with nobody stopping and thinking that there are ethical implications to this. I mean, and also, what are you doing? You're creating a man-pig, a pig-man?
Yeah, right. And how do you know that a human virus won't mutate in...
Answer for your name and where you're calling from.
Well, guess what? I'm not the liar here, partner. You asked me what my comment was.
I don't screen my calls.
Now I'm taking this personal because I was called a liar, and I'm not the liar here. He asked me what my comment was.
I have not screened my calls for over a year.
Well, everyone in the audience can tell who's the truth teller here because that's what I was asked, and I'm surely not a liar.
Because I'll tell you something, if he was screening the calls, I don't think you would have gotten on.
Yeah, I know that because I don't have the liberal Lynn Samuels agenda.
No,
here.
that isn't why. It
I'm
is
a
because...
Republican.
No, it is because you are somebody who listens to propaganda and repeats it back and can't think for yourself, who is saying
Lynn,
something that you've been saying for 7 years.
Lynn, I voted for Ed Koch twice, okay? I vote for people I feel will do a good job for New York and for the country.
I am not talking about Ed Koch. I am
Well,
talking
I'm
about
talking
the
about
Clinton hating that has gone on for 7 or 8 years, where people call up and all you can think of to say, now they're going to spend money on the cops because Hillary this, Hillary. When the woman was sworn in 3 days ago.
Let me tell you something, Lynn. I just came back from flying, okay? I'm a private pilot, okay? And the airspace over Hillary's house is off limits again today, okay? And you know what? That's another hassle going on with Hillary. Not only is she jamming up Manhattan, but even the airspace in the vicinity of her home.
Would you say that Hillary and Bill Clinton are being treated in any way differently than any other president? Don't you think the airspace over George Bush's ranch in Texas is restricted? What kind of...
Well, let me tell you something.
Oh, God, you're such an idiot. I don't know why I'm bothering you.
Yeah, well, I just want to say one last thing.
I am asking you if you think the Secret Service is protecting Bill and Hillary any differently than they protected Ray or Bush, or they're going to protect this Bush.
Do I think they're doing any... No, I don't think they're doing any more for her.
Well, then what is your problem, you moron?
The problem is I'm sick to death of the streets being closed down. You just got to tell me how Madison Square Garden, you couldn't get around because of them.
Yes,
but
and you know something?
Now you're saying there's nothing wrong with the fact that there's gridlock because of Hillary.
Well, it's annoying. It's not because of Hillary. It's actually because of the president.
She's now a senator and not the vice president. When is this?
She's the vice? When was she the vice president?
Well, you're playing it up like she should be guarded because she's a damn senator.
She is entitled as the wife of the ex-president to have Secret Service protection.
Yeah,
and it is because of people like you who have attacked her and vilified her for 8 years that she needs to be protected.
No, she needs someone to carry her bags like she did that day with the off-color comment. What the F good are you when they refused to carry her luggage for her? Okay?
And where did you read that? That was, what was that, Newsmax?
Yeah, you didn't hear that either,
right?
Oh,
and we know that everything on Newsmax is just absolutely true.
No, but everything that you say is, right? You're the end-all.
I do not make idiotic comments and pass along idiotic stories from an alleged news source that's a junk to anybody who knows what news is.
I just want to say in closing, I took up enough of your time, that your screener did ask me what my comment was, and if he says I'm a liar, let him look me in the eye one day and tell me that I'm a liar.
Yeah, well...
He is the liar.
Okay, fine, thank you. Since I know that none of these calls are... What idiots? What idiots? I talk to people who disagree with me all the time, but I will not be polite nor bother with people can't think. Bill and Hillary Clinton get the same damn Secret Service protection every other president is ranked over them. I was criticism Vietnam years ago when Bush was president. And it's annoying. So they spend 8 years attacking this woman. And now there's, no, she shouldn't have Secret Service protection. Yeah, well, we know Trent Lott was hoping she'd be struck by lightning before she could take office. What morons, what nasty, vicious, evil, stupid people. My God. Hi, Della.
Hello. Listen, don't fret about those tops that you couldn't get hold of at H&S because they'll probably be half the price tomorrow.
Oh, no. They can't get any cheaper.
Oh, well, they could get cheaper. And, you know, all of these big sales and all of these throwing out of business are a result of 8 years of one-way trade going on because of Clinton's free trade policy, bringing in goods to the country at slave wages. You know, we think we did away with slavery when we freed the slaves in the South, but we didn't. We now have slaves all over the world.
Well, and yes, and how is that going to change under George W. Bush?
Well, I don't know. You know, we don't know, but you know, you expect from a Republican president what you expect, but from a Democratic president, you expect him to be a little more considerate of labor problems here in the United States.
Well, so is it all right? So you expect George W. Bush to think slavery and importing everything is good, but because you didn't expect it from Bill Clinton, that made it bad, isn't it?
Certainly. I mean, you know how many millions of jobs we lost? I mean, you say we have 4%. They tell us we have 4% unemployment here in the United States, but most of those jobs are really just delivery jobs.
I know, they're not as good jobs as the jobs people lost. And let me tell you something. The thousands of jobs people are losing now, the people at Montgomery Ward...
Yes, that's right. 37,000 people. What do you think they're going to do? You think they're going to become radio announcers?
Let me tell you something. They're not. I don't think there are jobs for those people. That's what's going to happen this time.
This is one of the things that Clinton did not take care of.
This is one of the reasons I said that Clinton and Bush are in essence the same on so many things.
Exactly. And by the way, there's going to be a Nader meeting tonight. In case anybody is interested, they can call this number.
No. You're not allowed to give numbers.
All right, I won't give out the number, but we are in full force trying to do something new and different. But you see, one-way trade just does not work because sometimes, no matter how cheap goods are, if they're not wanted, nobody wants them. Even if they go down half of what they are now, today, they will not want them because when you don't need something, you just don't want it at any price.
When as we're going, you're going to pay so much for electricity, so much for your phone.
Yeah.
You know, the cable is deregulated. You're going to pay so much for that, you're not going to have any money to buy anything else.
Exactly. And how do you account for the fact that there are 11 million more people without medical insurance? Why are there so... After 8 years of Clinton, if he was such a good president, why are so many people angry? I remember, or not that I remember, after the Truman administration, when Republicans took over, there were not so many unhappy people. Everybody today is miserable.
So you really have the answer to that. Right. Talk radio and cable television. I mean, that's all talk radio and cable television exists for, you know, or to just stir up people.
There are a lot more heartbroken people today, and you know that. You know that there are. I hear them crying. I hear them so unhappy, so miserable about changing over to Republican presidency. There is not going to be a whole lot of difference, but you expect what you do from a Republican president. Now, by the way, you said something earlier about Linda Chavez and her illegal immigrant worker who she didn't know was an illegal... Well, we have the same thing with Zoe Baird, but you know, Clinton told her to stay on and fight. It took 3 weeks' time before they finally, you know, she was in tears, but Clinton insisted that even though she violated the very rules that she was supposed to uphold, the immigration authority, she was supposed to, as Attorney General, Zoe Baird was going to be in charge of immigration office. She had violated those laws, and do you know Clinton told her to stay on and fight?
Well, I'm sure Bush is going to tell Linda Chavez to stay on and fight.
I don't think so. I think that her name should be withdrawn. And I think
they're already making excuses. What she did was just compassionate. She's a wonderful person. That's what they're telling us.
I think that her name should be withdrawn. And if Bush has any sense at all, he will immediately withdraw her name.
Well, I'm sure he'll do whatever Dick Cheney, the real president, tells him to do. Thank you, Della. I'm Lynn Samuels. This is News Talk Radio 77 WABC. Okay, we're back. Lynn Samuels. Hopefully the people calling 1-800-848-WABC have a mind and a thought. Hi, Ronnie.
Yeah, hi, Lynn. What to do? You're in the wrong place. You go down see Hillary downstairs or what?
Thank you very much, Ronnie. Dave, you're on the radio, Dave. This is really an exciting call.
Oh, it got even better. Tell me, by the way, I want to ask you a question. What's your opinion about the Communist Party?
I have no opinion. I mean, the Communist Party is so meaningless in this country that it's not even worth mentioning.
Weren't you a card-carrying communist way back then? The BAI days?
What if I had been?
You were saying before about how the compassionate conservatism is basically equal to slavery, right?
Well, I was speaking about Linda Chavez. Have you been paying any attention?
Well, I'm not sure.
Well, it sure doesn't sound like it. Are you aware that under the great system of democracy that we have in this country, that anybody is allowed to be a communist and join the Communist Party, that it's just accepted as another political party? Are you aware of that? So why do you ask what
it's not a legitimate party. I mean, it's not allowed to practice to be, but it's...
It's not allowed to practice what? Of course it's a legitimate party. Gus Hall ran for president. There are communists. The people run on the Communist Party. It's a party like any other party.
I understand, but how do you feeling about them? How do you feeling about their being competitive?
About
if it would have been possible, would you have liked it to be the party of choice here in the United States?
Oh, it would depend on how they were going to run things. I never paid much attention to the Communist Party.
How would you be bent towards labor practices? How would you be
I have no idea.
If you're so concerned about the conservatives and the Republicans, how your views are about the labor problems, how would your views be?
I don't know. Obviously,
you don't know. All of a sudden, you don't know. You're so versed about the Republicans, but all of a sudden, you don't know what the communist views are going to be about.
I don't know what the libertarian views are. I don't know what the socialist views. Why would I waste my time?